Welcome back to Face the Nation. Joining us now from Chicago is Democratic strategist and CNN senior political commentator David Axelrod. David, let's start with Bernie Sanders, who I talked to earlier. What's your sense of his path to the nomination?
Well, everybody was wondering why he went to the Vatican in the middle of the New York race, really at the end of the New York race. And I suspect he was maybe looking for some divine intervention, because it's going to take a minor miracle at this point for him to upset the apple cart here. The fact is, Hillary Clinton has a fairly significant delegate lead, and Bernie Sanders would have to win landslide after landslide, starting in New York, to change that math. And you look at your own poll and others, it doesn't look like he's going to win in New York. Even a tie would not be very helpful to him. And so, I think that he's running out of runway here, which may be why he seems a little bit aggravated with the whole situation.
A lot of Democratic strategists I've talked to in the last week or so have basically said that he has to do some big, or there has to happen somehow, a huge kind of game-changing event to change that structure. Do you feel like that's right?
Without question. Look, if these polls are right, and he loses in New York on Tuesday, and then you have 5 states coming up the following week, quite a few delegates, where polls suggest that he'll do no better than tie and may fall behind a little. He's going to have to win like 2/3 of the remaining pledged delegates to catch Hillary Clinton. And if she is ahead in popular vote and she is ahead in delegates, it's very hard to turn to the superdelegates, where she has a huge lead, and say, you really ought to come with me. So I think he's run a splendid campaign, John. He's influenced the debate in a big way, and I think he's surprised a lot of people. But at this point, it just looks like time is running out.
Did you see his influence on the debate, or in this nominating fight, in the debate when Hillary Clinton changed her position on minimum wage?
Well, there's no doubt that on economic issues, he's pushed her hard, and I think she's responded to that, and probably to her benefit in terms of strengthening her candidacy. But, a lot has been made of this debate, the irascibility of the debate, and there's no doubt that it got testy. But I think back to 2008, Barack Obama had a debate with Hillary Clinton in Myrtle Beach that made this debate look like a high tea. And so, I wasn't impressed that this was some sort of cataclysmic confrontation, and that the party is cascading to disaster. I think that he has influenced her. I think she's embraced a lot of his positions, and I think he'll have a lot of influence at the convention, and probably will play those cards very aggressively.
What is your feeling about the convention? I mean, there seems to be every signal from the Sanders campaign that regardless of what the numbers are, he's going to go all the way to the convention, maybe just make her win it on the first vote. Will that cause bruised feelings?
Well, it may cause bruised feelings. One of the advantages that both parties have is that the conventions are earlier this year, so there's more time to heal bruised feelings. But, it'll be interesting to see how he plays it after the final primaries on June 7th. Hillary Clinton endorsed Barack Obama shortly after those primaries. Now, she did go to a first ballot, but she then walked on the floor of the convention and halted the vote, and moved that the convention embrace Obama by acclamation. And that was a unifying gesture. And the question is whether at some point Senator Sanders will do the same. And that would obviously that would be advantageous to the Democratic Party.
Is there anything that Bernie Sanders is bringing up in this, or anything that's coming up in the Democratic race here, that can be weaponized by the other side in a general election, either the Hillary Clinton transcripts or anything like that lives on?
John, my sense is that they have quite a weapons factory going over there, and anything that has been fired by Bernie Sanders will be fired by the Republican Party regardless. So I don't think that Bernie Sanders is doing significant damage that wouldn't be done by the Republicans. But, I know there are a lot of Democrats who are concerned about the tone of the debate, and that he may land a blow that could weaken her as a nominee. My sense is that once the candidates are chosen, given the situation on the Republican side, that Democrats will come together, some more happily than others. But it's hard to see the party sitting idly given what's going on the Republican side.
Let me ask you about the Republican side. John Kasich's pitch in life is that he would be a tougher general election candidate against Hillary Clinton. Is he right about that?
Well, on paper that's true, and there's reason to believe that that's true. The problem is he wants to be the nominee of the Republican Party, and the Republican Party doesn't seem interested in having him as the nominee. So that's just a theoretical discussion. He has to struggle now to overcome Marco Rubio, who has more delegates and isn't even in the race. And I have respect for John Kasich, but it's very hard to make the case that you finished a distant third and therefore the party should turn to you. I think he's got a very tough road to hoe here.
And very quickly, last question. Who would be easier to run against, Ted Cruz or Donald Trump from the Democratic perspective?
I think people have run through that scenario very often. And, I think that Trump, in theory, is more vulnerable. But he's also a guy who can land the unexpected blow. He plays by his own set of rules, and that makes him a little bit more frightening. I'd go for the conventional if I were a Democrat, and I'd say let's try Cruz and see what happens.
All right, David Axelrod, thanks so much for being with us.
Great to be with you, John.